Hi everybody, hi, it's video 873. Just kind of checking it. Ooh. Yes, I'm still trying to get back into using my voice here. It's been, luckily, I am getting better at it. Although sometimes it still sounds kind of odd and I have to go banana, 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 banana. Banana is my keyword. Excuse me. I found that if I am going about my day and I am falling out of practice or my voice is being a little weird, I can say banana, and I have kind of keyed that into my head. That's my keyword, and it kind of gets my brain in the right place. And then I continue speaking in my voice. Ooh, in my voice, hopefully. And I'm trying to get back into using it because of I had a leftover cough from COVID. And then, as it turns out, my blood pressure medicine that I've been put on to help address some blood pressure issues, that was giving me post-nasal drip, which also complicated it. So anyway, I just kind of wanted to check in and just say hello. Lots going on kind of in my life. I am have been offered a position. I've been applying for a position for about a month, and I will start that in a couple weeks. Excuse me. My current job is stuffing envelopes. That's all I do. I print letters and I stuff envelopes for Humana, and I will be moving into the claims department where I'll be learning how to process claims. So I'm kind of excited. Be a different, definitely a step up for me. Done something for 2 years. It's an entry level job. Time to move on and do something else. So, and that may very well be my last job. I'm 50 and a half years old. And in theory, I can retire somewhere between 65 and 70. So this may very well be my last job. So looking forward to that. Looking forward to retiring if I can. Knock on wood. Knock on plastic. But anyway, I just kind of wanted to touch in, just say hello. The seasons are changing. A couple weeks ago, well, about a month ago, I kind of was like, kept on hearing the word witch, 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 and I was feeling very dissatisfied with Druidry to a degree. Druidry is a wonderful philosophy and a religion, um, but it had a lot of the trappings that I didn't particularly care for in Gardnerian Wicca, as well as being raised Catholic, having to be in a certain place at a certain time and say a certain words over and over again. I guess it was just the structure of it I really didn't like. And, you can make religion as complex or as easy as you want to. But it kind of came into my hands a book called The Green Witch. And, one of the things that it kind of talked about was that really you make it your own. And it doesn't really matter. It can be any of those religions. Catholicism, maybe not so much. Druidry kind of sets out to be that way. But then you kind of fall into, um, the sabbats and the high holidays and everything else. And it kind of, again, it gets, we'll say this, recite this bit of passage when the moon is waning and, you know, Ursa Minor is, you know, I don't know, Jupiter is ascending and the moon is descending, and it just kind of falls into that same like structure and has to be done these times. And you have to say this the right time and gather your orbs by. I mean, again, you can do it. You don't have to. And I was really kind of impressed. This was one book that kind of talked about it, but I've kind of seen the same thing in some other stuff, some druid stuff. Again, it's kind of what you make of it. And I really feel more along the lines of my spiritual practice is going to be something I want to do that's significant to me. And again, you can do that in any practice. It can be Catholicism, can be anything. However, you probably are going to have people that are going to try and tell you what you're doing right and what you're doing wrong. And I don't know. Again, I guess it just has to be significance to you. Um, Something that did kind of pop up, I don't have it in here, but I was just kind of curious why, why did humanity, okay, like all the way back, from a historical perspective, coming out of the Stone Age, most religions that I've read about were matriarchal. They were worshiping motherhood, they were worshiping women, they were worshiping the goddess, childbirth, and kind of just a female centered look on things. And then as they went, I've noticed that as we went from the Stone Age, and we went into the Bronze Age, all of a sudden it started to change. And been doing some reading and some research. Robert Graves wrote a book called The White Goddess, and he was a poet. You might know him from I, Claudius. But he references some other things. Pliny the Elder was a Greek guy, and then I can't think of his name now. It's not Plato. Sorry, my memory's not so bad. Anyway, he was a Roman poet, and he did a lot of gathering of information at that time. And so it's kind of neat to look at poets and historians like of the early Roman Empire, and as they got information just to record it, Strabo, Strabo. But anyway, it was this neat. I just kind of saw a pattern that religions, again, coming out of the Stone Age and going into the Bronze Age, um, even like the god Apollo, Apollo, the sun god, and there's a lot of stuff to Apollo. Well, Apollo started off as a woman. There are those who believe, I guess I better preference that. There are those who believe, to Battlestar Galactica, there are those who believe that life that began here started out there. Okay? But no, again, research and historians and whatnot, these goddesses, the Stone Age goddesses, over time became masculine and they had male counterparts. And then all of a sudden, as time progressed, you had people that were like, oh no, the male god has always been here and we're going to worship the male god, and it just, I saw it like more than once, more than a handful of times. And I was just kind of like, oh, wait a minute. Why is it that why do women get the short end of the stick? I mean, like, why? Why? You know? And then, religion, society, why in, in Greece, why did women start to lose their, I'm not going to say equality, but as time goes on in Greek society and then in Rome, the women became less and less and less. And in religion, it shifted away from that, you know. Whereas women, you would have a goddess and you priestesses and whatnot. And then over time, they got replaced by men. Or it went from a woman to the model of a mother and a son, okay? Where the mother is like sharing her power and you focus on the sun. Okay, and this kind of, I think, is what Christianity is kind of built upon. Granted, you have God. Yeah, God's secure. But if you think about Christianity, you have Mary, the Virgin Mary for the women. We should all aspire to be like Mary, right? Not Mary Magdalene. Although there are those who believe that Mary Magdalene is actually Jesus' wife. Um, but where was I going with this? Again, why do women over time lose they lose equality, they lose status, and then it becomes the norm, and then you have guys who are like, oh no, women, you can't own property, you don't have any rights, you don't have a say. Obviously, we're getting closer and closer to our own contemporary world. You know, colonies and whatnot, women couldn't vote, they couldn't hold property, all these things. Again, it's women, women, women. And why why does it go that way? I mean, again, in the Stone Age, women were the shit. I mean, women were everything. It was Mother Earth, and you have the really big um, fertility dolls. They basically are big wombs with little legs and arms, and somehow, starting back then, women just got regulated and regulated to second, third, no citizen status by our time. And, now it's like we've, on paper, we've got a lot of things. We've got, uh, the right to vote, da 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 da, but we still are encountering these issues of where things are not equal. It's not equity. And, from a trans woman point of view, I know my dad. Why do you want to give up your position of power? Why do you want to give up your status? Why do you want to, you know what I mean? Um, and that was in the 70s. I mean, that wasn't that long ago. What, 20, we're like 50 years? You know what I mean? Like, why? Again, how did it happen? And why did it happen? Was it because women, child rearing? You know? Is it menstruation? In the Bible, women are unclean. You can't go near a woman while she's menstruating, or, again, what is it about? Maybe it's the first time that you have power and you have two different creatures, men and women, right? You know what I mean? I mean, obviously, physically different, um, just from basic body function and everything else. And so, if there's competition between the two, and the man overpowers the woman and becomes the superior, the one above to the one below, and then as we go forward in time, um, you introduce other things. You introduce other people who are different, who maybe have darker skin, or maybe they don't have blue eyes. I mean, again, and so you have, of this supposedly better class of people, men, then you have men above men. This person, this white, you know, blonde-eyed blue person, I mean, it's Aryan, Viking, white supremacy is better than everything else. I mean, I don't know. I'm trying to wrap my head around it. Why did it happen? Again, between the two, what was it about the Bronze Age and then forward that women had to be relegated to second class citizen, and then going forward, You introduce skin people maybe of a different skin color or from a different background. Um, if it was just men, tomorrow is Columbus Day. When Christopher Columbus discovered, uh, continent full of people, he should have been like, "Hey, it's men. You are men. I am a man. We're together. We're equals, right?" But did he do that? No. I'm sophisticated. I'm civilized. You are primitive. You are not as civilized, which we know obviously is not as true. The people up at Jamestown. I can't remember the tribe at the time, but they were far more sophisticated than our European colonists. They understood the land and they had society. They had all these things. And it's just something about one group of people subjugating another. And to a certain degree, I feel like that's a lot of the issues that we have right now with, uh, at least here in America, and it's also worldwide. In like Scotland and everything, I mean, we have people against transgender people because transgender people are like, the in between. If you man and woman and you're transgender, then you're in between and you're going one way or you're going the other, or you know what I mean? It's like we totally fuck that system up, you know? And so it's easier for some politicians to just be like, "Oh, you people don't exist. I don't believe in you." Um, you know, you're back in what 1970, I think we were still considered to be a disease, and homosexuality was considered a disease, a mental health issue, that you could be cured of. I mean, we've come a long way in 50 years, but we still have a long way to go, obviously. But like I said, I'm trying to figure out what is it about? Why did women become second class citizens? I mean, again, go back to Greece and Rome. I mean, it was already it was already happening. And put that in the situation that we're in today, where the Supreme Court just took away, you know, women's bodily autonomy, over the course of, less than a week. Here where I live in Indiana, the Supreme Court was like, "Oh, we'll set it up to the states." I mean, a week later, here in Indiana, my governor called a special session. State legislatures met for a week. There was protests every day. And it's a group of men, group of white men, I might add, and a group of rich white men, all of them Republicans. Um, and they just, yeah, women don't have rights anymore over their own bodies. Yep, signed, sealed, delivered, send it into law. So the same thing that happened here. Can you imagine putting it in a historical context, whether it be in Greece? I can imagine an amphitheater and you have philosophers, and all of a sudden they just decide, you know what, the women, second class citizens. Or in Rome, the Senate, the senators are all there, they got their togas, fresh back from the vomitorium. All right, we're going to vote. Women don't have rights anymore. All those opposed, if you have a penis, you can't vote. Or, excuse me, you have a penis, you can't vote. All those in favor with penises. All those opposed. You know what I mean? Just doesn't make any sense, does it? But that's go all the way back 5,000 BC, you know? But there was a point in the Stone Age, in the Old Stone Age, which was like, what, 6,000 BC, women were revered, but not put on a pedestal. You know, did they have equality? I don't know. But they were revered. It was the mother, it was birth, it was life. And then somehow, again, I don't know. It's kind of a neat mental exercise, though, as we're kind of always on the verge of recapturing those rights. You know, what I think will be in, hopefully, in the next 50 years. Uh, you know, being gay won't be, you know, seems like over the last couple of years we've had, so and so is the first openly gay, Secretary of the Transportation, so Pete Buttigieg. So and so is the first openly gay, blah, 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 blah. The first, bisexual woman of color to do. Dr. Admiral Levine, the first transgender, blah, 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 blah. My hope is that 50 years from now, um, it won't be such a blue moon event. It will be common, I hope, you know, and it won't matter like as much as it does now. Um, wouldn't that be a nice future, where you know, we can get over what's in your pants and what's not in your pants and just talk about making the world a better place. Sounds nice to me. Anyway, kind of ranted on a long time. But I hope all is good near you. Our weather is changing. And like I said, for me, I've kind of had a big switch over the last month where I used to say, "Thank you, God," and Goddess. Now I say, "Thank you, Goddess," and God. Switched them. Um, I could almost see myself kind of letting God go. Um, and it's easy to say, well, God has no gender. My God is everything. Da 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 da. But I almost feel like, the pendulum has been so far this way for so many years that maybe I need a couple years on this side. There's something to be said for equality, and then there's something to be said for equity. And, I think it's time for me, at least, for a little bit of equity. And so it might be a little more, goddess time. And I don't know, just makes you wonder if you go all the way back, what was there and how much has changed over time, and how much over time religion has changed, organized religion, the religion that I grew up in. Again, I grew up Catholic. Um, the Bible. The Bible is such a hatchet job. I mean, a little bit here, a little bit here, a little bit here. We found a snippet here. We found 3 jars in a field. Okay, we got a snippet here. Let's put it all together. And then, it wasn't until Emperor Constantine was like, okay, fuck you all. I want one version, and it's going to be what we're going to practice, you know? And they were cutting bits out. There goes Jesus's wife. There goes Jesus's brothers. And did you know Jesus had brothers and sisters? That was news to me. Yeah, you know. They found passages, just like they found passages in a field, in a cave. The Dead Sea Scrolls. They found the same information from the same time period, and they just said, "Yeah, we don't need it. Throw it away." In our mind, in my mind, I'd be like, "Hey, let's put it all, everything we've ever found, let's put it all in one book, and you pick and choose what you want to believe, But instead, a group of men got together and say, fuck the women, take away their rights, you know. And then you have people now, oh, it's the word of God. No, it's the word of white men. It's the word of men trying to keep other people down. Now, of course, the danger of that, and I guess I'll shut up after I say this, is perhaps the danger of that is saying that since all of it could be valid, then none of it is valid. In other words, there is no God, there is no religion, there is no truth, because we have no, you know what I mean? I think that's kind of a danger of that. And, to a degree, that might be objectively true, you know? However, a person may actually really have a strong feeling or identification with parts of it. And if it brings happiness and if it's significant to somebody, I know it's not up to me to say they're full of shit. I would encourage them to develop their relationship with God or the goddesses they see fit. That is their truth. Um, and as long as their truth does not impact my truth, you know what I mean? Hey, I'm all for it. Live and let live, I think. But the minute they say, well, my truth, you should believe in my truth, and I'm going to pass laws based on my truth that you're going to have to abide, well, then we get into issues. But um, Neil deGrasse Tyson in his book, and I don't have a copy of that nearby, unfortunately. Nope, that's not it. Ah! Oops. Did you see the cup of waterfall? Did you? Have you seen a waterfall? I just dumped a bunch of water behind me. Oh, I'm gonna have to clean that up. In his book, talked about there being three truths, and one of them was objective truth, which is what science is built off of. And then there's political truth, which is stuff that's repeated so much it begins to become true in its own right. And I think after that was personal truth or spiritual truth, I don't remember. But that's what you believe in. And it's true because you believe in it for you, And I think that's pretty healthy, you know? I can't think of his name. I think it's Matt Walsh. He's the guy who's like, what is a woman? I I'm gonna try and find what is a woman? I'm gonna ask 50 people what is a woman, anti-trans woman bullshit. But Matt was trying to take his spiritual truth and turn it into, or make it objective, or I'll put it as objective truth. And you can't really do that. I don't think you can, you know? It's true for Matt, but is it objectively true? No. Again, this is where you have science and psychology and things we can test and determine. That's very different than what's over here. Um, Plus, I think Matt Walsh is a totally dickwad. But that's my own personal truth. So, anyway, on that note, I will sign off and wish you the best of luck. Hopefully, as time goes on, my voice will get better and I'll get back into using it more and more, I hope. You just reach a point where you use it by default, and I haven't hit that yet, you know? Um, had that thing of water hit me in the head, I would have probably reverted back to my other voice and cursed. And when I do that and curse in this voice, then I'll have made it, I think. All right, till next time, wishing you the best of luck, and